when we start looking at stuff and we start talking about holistic health, and people are, oh, I want to do things holistically, not medically. It's like, okay, great. But a lot of people don't understand what that means. A lot of people think holistic means natural, and it doesn't mean natural. It means we treat the whole body. The reason why this is important is because of things like, so for instance, I was having a conversation with a group yesterday. We're doing there's 2 charities I'm partnered with, and we're going to start doing some stuff for veterans. We're going to break PTSD and reset everything in their body. And we were talking about different things they had going on. And, one of the things we brought up was that a lot of these guys are suffering from erectile dysfunction. And they're like, yeah, so we'll do the PTSD and maybe we do something for erectile dysfunction. And I was like, we don't have to. And they're like, what do you mean? And I was like, as we fix the PTSD, we're going to fix the erectile dysfunction issues. And they're like, how? Well, what you have to understand is that what PTSD is that the way your nervous system works, real quick, you've got sympathetic and parasympathetic. Sympathetic is fight, flight, freeze. Parasympathetic is resting, digesting. Obviously, you can't be freaking out and running away from a tiger and chilled and relaxed and laying on the beach and watching the waves roll in. Like, these are literally opposites, right? 2 sides of the same coin type of thing. Well, what you have to understand is that if you have PTSD, you're in what's called sympathetic escape. So your sympathetic nervous system is going all the time. And so you can't then use the body's parasympathetic function like an erection. So this also is a true thing for women. So if women are super stressed out, their orgasm function is going to be really bad. Their sexual function is going to be really bad. Their libido is going to be really bad. So as we go through and we fix things like in PTSD, for example, and we start breaking that sympathetic escape problem, all the other stuff in the body starts getting better. Like, we don't have to treat the erection issues per se, because the vast majority of these guys, their erection issues are going to go away as we treat the root cause of the PTSD. And so we're going to treat the whole body by attacking the root causes of the actual issues we're dealing with, which is the sympathetic escape, which is basically, where their body is in this massive, massive issue with stress. And this is one of those things that, isn't necessarily, on off. It's not you either are all the way over here or you're all the way over here. And so a lot of people that I work with, their bodies have been broken because of the stress, because of the psychological stress they're under. So they've got parasitic infections because they got stressed out, their hydrochloric acid in their gut went away. They replaced it with lactobutyric acid, so it ends up attacking there. We have heartburn, we have GERD. We don't have a strong enough acid to kill the viruses, the bacteria, the parasites. Parasites get in, they eat the probiotic, the yeast then overgrows. We have damage to the adrenal function because we're not bringing in nutrients, and bang, there you go. And people are like, I have, everything's off, right? Their fasting insulin gets off because they've shifted into this fight flight issue, so they're sympathetically eating. It tears it all up, and so what ends up happening is that now all their hormones get off, and so everything kind of falls apart. And so if we don't treat the body holistically, which is like, okay, I'm going to look at everything that's going on, and I'm going to design my protocols to fix all of the things, right? Because we have to tie them all together. Okay, well, what's going on? We have this big gut issue. All right, we can't fix the parasitic issues. We can't fix the PTSD issues until we deal with the parasitic issues and deal with the gut. So we'll clean up the gut, get everything all good where that is. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go through and kind of sustain everything, hold it together with, supplements and stuff like that. Then we're going to fix the mind. So one of the things that we do when we walk people through our protocol is we kill the parasites, we kill the yeast, we, reset the good flora in the gut, we reset hormonal function. So usually this is testosterone, not always, but it's usually testosterone. And then we focus on insulin. So we get those insulin issues, the insulin resistance issues, or the diabetic issues to calm down. While we're doing that, we can clean and feed the liver and the kidneys so the body can detoxify properly. And that kind of puts you back to what we call baseline. So all of that work is to get you back to baseline. Then we're going to go to sleep. Are you breathing while you're asleep? Are you breathing properly? Are you getting deep and REM sleep? Are you getting the 2 major functional factors, your diet and your sleep? Are these 2 things working for you or against you? Once we get those 2 things tied in, the vast majority of people are doing really, really a lot better. That's when we can start working on the stress. That's when we can start working on your mental side. That's when we can start working on getting everything to kind of settle down and function again. Those are the big pieces that we start moving through. So that's kind of the process that we go through, but that's the holistic approach. It's not just the, oh, I have an issue, we'll take lysine for that. Oh, I have this issue, we'll take a B vitamin for that. It's what is going on with your whole person, and how do we start pulling the levers to make all these things right again? And that's one of those things. And people are like, oh, well, there's so much work to do. I got to do some supplementation, and I got to change my diet, and then I got to start exercising, and I got to start sleeping better. Right. Like without any knowledge, without any of the massive amount of research I've read, without all the neurology, without all the stuff, think about that. All right, in order to be healthy, I've got to eat right, I've got to do some type of exercise, I've got to sleep, and I've got to manage my stress. Which of those things do you look at and go, no, not one of those is wrong? Like, I don't have to do that thing to be healthy. Like, legitimately, like that's all we're doing. We're returning the body back to baseline. How was the body designed? Go back to original design, we'll be fine. So that's where a lot of this comes in. So like I was talking to somebody who had PCOS, and they're like, yeah, my doctor's really trying to figure out how to, fix the testosterone issue. And I'm like, stop. Like, don't spot check things. Look at the entire picture and be like, where is this off with what's going on? PCOS is another great example. Like, well, it's insulin resistance. No, it's myoinositol issues. No, it's diinositol issues. No, it's it's estrogen issues. It's testosterone problems. Like, and they look at those as all individual things that individually have to be dealt with. They all work together. So if you can find pull the threads, think, okay, we got to put this all back together. Like, that's the way you do it. So for instance, with PCOS, what we walk through the same thing. Remember baseline. Okay. So the insulin resistance issues are solved with dietary and exercise function. So bang, those two are done. Now, to complicate that, if you've got sleep apnea, you're going to have insulin issues there. So we do have to bring that sleep in. But for about 90% of these people, 85% of these people, we can get most of that stuff fixed with just diet and a little bit of exercise, just movement, right? So bang, there's your insulin resistance issues. Okay. Now you're not going to pick up myoinositol in your diet. So we have to supplement with myoinositol. Fine. Great. Now we can look at it and be, okay, what is your actual issue? Why do you have higher testosterone? Well, women often produce testosterone and then convert it into estrogen through aromatase. All right. You have aromatase issues? Is that a chemical substrate, enzyme breakdown in you? Cool. If it is, we can then supplement that. We can kind of put that on the other side, give you a little bit of estrogen, luteinizing hormone, whatever it's going to take, because what actually is going on with PCOS is that the eggs that are formed in the ovary, usually you don't form one. You eject one, you form 3 or 5. And so what ends up happening is that as you form, you never get to that critical mass where you eject one, let the other ones dissolve back kind of into the system, and then you kind of go on with the next part of the cycle. So you kind of get halfway through the cycle in PCOS, and then you just kind of like, and then you start again. And so there's thousands of cysts of eggs that were supposed to go through this process of, one gets kicked out and the rest of them resolve, but none of them resolve. And usually that's an estrogen progesterone issue. Progesterone feeds the uterus, so it has the blood supply it needs. We have enough, basically estrogen, there's luteinizing and FSH and all those other fun things that play in. But basically, make it easy, estrogen comes up, kicks that one egg out, and then everything kind of resets. That's how the cycle plays in. Lots of things can play into this and make it not work. Birth control issues can definitely cause it. There's atrazine in the water, which we're seeing is causing some of these issues. There's all sorts of processing foods that are creating these other issues. So again, when you look at the body and someone goes, I have this issue, dementia, another great one. Dementia, it's one of those things where, okay, the vast majority, not every one of them, but the vast majority of dementia patients have insulin resistance problems, right? So that one of the main functional issues with dementia is that we're not getting ATP created in the brain, because either we have high insulin resistance, which means the brain's literally sitting in sugar, but it can't get any in, or we need to shift away from sugar and we need to go into a ketogenic diet so the body can actually start fixing and feeding and repairing the brain. But anyway, it's an energy into the brain thing. But you've got to fix insulin resistance regardless. And then you've got to bring in methylated B vitamins, specifically L-methyl tetrahydrofolate. You've got to bring the oxygen levels up. You've got to basically restore ATP production. And then you got to pull the waste out. And then you got to give the body the ability to repair. So you give it some cholesterol. You give it all the things the brain needs to grow, heal, and repair. You got to fix the gut so you can bring the neurotransmitter levels up. But again, See how all of these things kind of start fitting together? There's not a thing or a drug or a problem. You go, well, here, we'll just fix this. We'll flip this one switch and everything gets better. That's not how it works. But here's the fun thing, specifically if you're looking like at dementia. Well, we're going to fix your gut. We're going to fix your hormone stuff. We're going to fix all these things and then bring it all kind of back together. Or the other way of looking at it, we're going to bring it back to baseline. So that's basically all that we do when we're trying to put things back together, is we return to the original design, the way your body was designed to work, the way you were created to function. When we get back to that, everything gets better. So that's the whole thrust. That's what holistic medicine is. I wouldn't even use the term medicine. I hate using that term. That's what holistic healthcare is. It's actually healthcare, and it's taking care of the entire body. Because if you're leaving parts of the body out, you haven't done this holistically. You haven't taken into account all of the things that we need to bring in together. And that's, that's your metabolics, your chemistry, that's your movement issue, because that's how your neurology functional builds up and works. And then you've got to work on, getting that sleep in so that you can actually reset all this stuff, which is part of the neurology and part of the biochemistry. And then you got to work on the mind. But if you don't fix the metabolic stuff before you work on the mind, you're going to be spinning your wheels. And the reason I say that is because we've all seen how metabolic function plays into psychological function. And I use this term a lot, but if you've ever seen anybody who's been hangry, right? So they're so hungry, they're now angry and pissy and bitchy and tired. Metabolic needs weren't met. Great massive effect on emotional, psychological function. Then we feed those people and they get better, right? So then we fulfill the metabolic needs and the emotional issues come back to where they're supposed to be. We see this all the time. We just don't pick up on it and go, that's how it should work. That's all we're doing. We're just taking people, again, back to baseline. So if that's something that you are getting done, great, you're on the right track. If you're not being brought back to baseline, if you're not having somebody work on those specific things in your life, you're going to get burnt out. You're going to have sex drive issues. You're going to have fat issues. You're going to have emotional issues. You're going to have cancer issues. You're going to have insert whatever problem comes from not being where you need to be. So if you don't have somebody working on that with you, just give us a call. I'll walk you through what we do. And then once you get to the emotional piece, there's so many different things. Like my wife is amazing at this. She's so much better at it than I am. So she does a lot of the emotional work. I interviewed Sarah on a podcast, Sarah Sparkle. She's great. There's hypnosis. Like two of the best people I've ever met at this are Christy Miller and Nathan Rossi, who are going to come down and help us with the charity stuff. So like there's different people we can be like, okay, now you need to go work with this person. And I've got guys who are like, okay, I'm like, I'll do all the biochemistry. You need to go work out with this trainer. This trainer will get you where you need to go. This is the best chiropractor for you. You need to have this person do it. But the philosophy and the pathway, that one everybody can do. So if you guys are having trouble with that, or if you're like, okay, these are the things that I need to start learning more about, give us a call. We work with people all over the world. So if you guys need anything, we'll walk you through it. Thanks for your time. Have a great day.